you go through that pain, right now you're building a capacity to bring in new strength.
As we know, when you're writing these books, when you're telling your story, when you're exposing the enemy, the attack is real.
If I tell my story and I push through this, then I can help somebody else push through too.
Let's talk about it.
So talk about, and Clint, you start us off, the process, right? We overcame these things. We told the story. There's liberation, freedom, deeper connection, all sorts of things going on. But for somebody who's in the middle of it, right? They're in the middle of that abusive relationship. They're in the middle of a struggling relationship with a parent, or, not having a parent, whatever the trauma is. What's the process of getting out? How did you get out? How did you get through?
Depending on something more powerful than me. That's where I had to get back to my spiritual roots. Right. That's where the process started for me. In my life, I went through addiction, and my addiction was gambling, right? And me having such a large family, that's a little contradictory, right? I'm out there and I'm gambling away all my money, but yet I got all these mouths I got to feed, right? Mm-hmm. This is how I knew that it was a beast that was going on inside of me that I couldn't control, or So I said, okay, I need something more powerful than me. So God set me down, and isolated me, and I began to listen. It's like we have to stop everything so that we can hear the voice of God. You know what I mean? Because we find ourselves getting too, sometimes we bury ourselves, right, in day-to-day things to get away from the pain, or to get away from the accountability that we really need in these situations. But I needed to sit down and listen to God. To me, I think that's where it starts, getting back to your spiritual roots.
So before Browniesha chimes in, when you say God set you down, but what happened? Did you lose a lot of money? Did you have to face eviction?
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to get into all of that, but
let's talk about it.
I don't want you to, tell all your business, but for the sake of, like I said, people who are in the midst of it, what had to happen for you to, start on the journey of processing your way to overcome it?
I got tired, that vicious cycle, you know what I mean, of going, to the casino, losing all my money, and not being able to put $5 of gas in my car, not being able to buy a McDonald's burger for my kid. You know what I mean? Like, Clint, what are you doing? Yeah. So I even got to a point where I had to alienate myself from the people that I was around at that time. I was living in my truck, right? And I was going to a college at that time. So I literally parked across the street from the college, went to sleep there. It was a Denny's parking lot, and I went in there, freshen up, go to school. I had to literally stop everything. I said, okay, what is really going on with you? Right. You living in your truck. You know what I mean? You're not around your family. I'm like, okay. So God, I guess you can call that falling flat on your face moment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You got to have that moment where you just say, okay, I'm listening now.
Yeah. God said, okay, I'm going to take that away from you.
Yep.
Let me see if that gets your attention.
Right. And it was a shameful phone call that I had to make to my mom. I did it again. And she was like, and that, my mom is my hero. And I'm the only child.
Right.
And she, she never judged me, because she knew at the end of the day, I'm just a hardworking person, and, just want to take care of my kids. But hey, we all make mistakes. But she never judged me. She said, look, it's going to be okay. Just come on home, and I came home, and that's where I was isolated, sitting in that room. Okay, God, I'm listening now.
Yeah, because you'll be surprised how God talks to your mom.
Oh, man.
And then your mom she probably wasn't even worried about it.
Nope.
Come on, baby.
Yep.
Come on.
She
back
already
home.
knew.
Come on home, mama. The Lord had already told me you was coming back. I was just waiting for you to come home.
Yeah.
Your room, what she say? Your room is already ready.
It's already right there.
Yeah. See, moms be knowing.
Yeah.
Your moms know.
Yeah.
Mom knows exactly What's going on? She
You
said, the Lord
100%.
had told me,
Yeah.
come on home, baby.
That's another episode, though. You talk
Right.
about the love. Well, really, when you talk about the love of a mother, I mean, when
Man.
you think of like some of the traumas that these people have gone through, imagine having a child in an abusive relationship and you can't do nothing.
Right.
They have to get tired, right?
Wow.
They have to have that
Yes.
moment. Like even for your family, if they saw it going on, they can tell you leave and come home. All the door is always open, but until you tired and ready to walk out,
It's true.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
process. Talk about the process.
Ooh. So the process for me, I didn't, to be honest with you, I can't even tell you that I knew that it began. What I would say is for my, as it pertains to the story in Brutal Courage, it was literally God removing the man at the most, at one of my most weakest moments of my life, because we had just had a child. Our child was born premature, and we had previously lost another child the year before. And so it was literally like I needed help to raise this child, and God was removing the man out of the home. And he left. And I just was like, what is this? Like, how am I about to do this? And in recent times, in retrospect, I look back and God told me that he didn't leave you, I removed him because I needed you to lean on me.
Right.
And he was like, you were looking to him, and I needed you to lean on me. So that in that moment, I really didn't know that that's when the process actually started. Yeah. And when the process did start, I went through a whole realm of darkness before I got to years of more trauma, more bad experiences. But it yet brought me to this point. It was yet more that I had to experience of raising my children on my own, and having a special need kid that was in and out the hospital, in the hospital for 30 days and 45 days at a time, in the hospital, and the doctor telling me, oh, well, your baby is not going to make it. Like, walking through those moments. And when I say by myself, meaning physically, there was no one there with me, but God was with me the whole time. I now know, but when I was walking through that stuff, it was rough. I resolved, and I became an alcoholic. It was just a lot of stuff that I had to go through, and I had to process, and I had not the slightest. I was like, what did I do to somebody for like life to be this bad? But it was the processing. It was really the
two different kinds of processing.
Yeah, it was the processing, and I now understand. I didn't understand why, I had my child, and he was, born at 24 weeks, and that was hard. But what I now know, looking back, was that was God's way to draw me to him, because it would be no other. Who could I even give credit to for my 24-weeker living? Who could I give credit to? I couldn't give credit to myself, and I sure couldn't give credit to the doctors, because the doctors that was there for this child it was the same medical team I had to see for the child that had passed away before my son. So if y'all had the power to keep life, then my daughter would have lived. So I then knew that it was something greater. As he said, it was a greater force than me. Like, okay, so God, he got me, because there was some rough days. I know I should have been locked away in the mental institution, because they were things that I had to face. And at the time, I was like 19, 20 years old. I was shy of being grown. I didn't know no better. I didn't know, I didn't know. And I had to face these type of events. So the process was very brutal. It was brutal,
Right.
and that story was just one brutal experience, but it was brutal for a very, very long time. But even as he said, breaking through the muscle, now that I look, the power in which I have in God is nothing to be reckoned with. So I don't regret it.
That's right.
But it was horrific, y'all.
It was a setup.
It was
like talking about the muscle and lifting weights, like
baby,
you were being, all of us have been positioned for greater.
Yeah.
And those experiences have made us better, made us stronger, made us greater.
Yeah.
Did you have anything before I want to shift into something else?
Yeah, what I was going to say, that you were saying that you was wanting that guy that you was with to leave. And no matter how much you was telling him, I don't want to be with you, I don't want you around, I don't want you here, he like, oh, I'm at a place where I'm not wanted. And when they end, they're going to stay there because they're not wanted. So God be like, oh, okay. So you messing with my baby.
Yeah.
Okay, guess
That
what?
part.
You go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy be like, I'm going to give you this baby. And this is the baby that you can get with all that love. Just give it to somebody who didn't want it. Give all the love to somebody who needs it.
Who needs
Come
it?
on.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between somebody you trying to give somebody that don't want it.
Yeah.
And now he's saying, give all your love to somebody who need it. Let me see what you do with this situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he did.
And even with that, if I can share, even with my son and his disability, he's the most humblest person, and he can go and he will wreck a church all day long. And he is the child that, though I'm lifting him, because he's in a wheelchair and he's now 16 years old, he is the child that will lay hands on me and be like, Father God, could you help strengthen my mom's back? Because it's going to I require very much of my back strength to lift him. So it was that. It was like God gave me him. Like, I'm going to use this moment. It may look bad, and I'm going to remove this man, and that may look bad too. But it is the very thing that I'm going to use to draw you to me. And the way he drew me to him, you ain't never got to worry about me leaving, because I ain't going nowhere. Like, you going to have to get rid of me. Kick me out, and I'm still ain't going nowhere, because I honestly do bless him for keeping me in those moments, because only God knows how those dark moments were. And he kept me through them, and so I'm grateful.
Yes. So I wanna I know we're getting close to time, and I hate that it goes so fast.
Right.
But I wanna talk a little bit about Dear Dad, the anthology. So this isn't my anthology, it's actually Browniesha. She's the visionary. I'm a co-author on her anthology, and Clint is also in the book. I want to talk about the relationship, or the lack of a relationship, with your father and the trauma. Like, for you, I remember bits and pieces of your story. I don't know how much you want to share. We don't have a whole lot of time, but talk about that, the impact of your relationship with, or your lack of your relationship with your father, and how that affected the decisions you made that led you to trauma.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely contribute, the lack of relationship, with my father to a lot of the decision making that I made, in my life growing up as a young teenager into young adulthood and into adulthood. It is funny when sitting back, when we were talking about the process, the writing process, and getting those thoughts down on paper, I did relive something. And it was the moment when my mom told me that, my father had beat her senseless while she was pregnant with me, to where she was unconscious. And in the Pierce Purpose, I kind of talked a little bit about it in that particular project. And it was like, man, he tried to end it before it even started. Right? But God had a purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how I know this was God sent, But that lack of relationship with my father really, shaped a lot of my poor decision making, But even today, when I'm trying to forgive and forget, and, I got 7 children, and I try to, I want my father to be around, his grandkids, but I keep seeing the same thing over and over again, and just like, okay, how do I work through this? God is definitely trying to work with me, in this situation. But, being, in the field that I work in, and I even still work with youth as well, and working with my own kids, of course. It's like, okay, how do I work through this, with my father not being the person that he was, or that I wanted him to be? How do I get rid of this resentment, this anger, and it's just like, no, well, you just got to look at him as a human being. He made mistakes. And maybe it's you that have to show him how to forgive, or how to, you know what I mean, how to be a father. I think I even mentioned that in Dear Dad. It was like, I guess my purpose is, let me show you how to be a father.
Yeah,
Let me show you how it's done.
You
By
that's
see,
what
right.
you didn't do.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
That was deep.
Yeah.
Come on.
And you can
Yeah.
actually say, hey, your grandchildren are here when you want to see them, but
Yeah.
it's going to be up to you
Yeah.
to come by and
Exactly.
see them. I'm not going to take them and have them meet you at a McDonald's. I have them meet you somewhere else. Because now that's setting them up for failure because you might not show up.
Man.
But you know where I am. You have my number. And you know how to get in touch with me. So
Yeah.
it's on you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. You just spoke
I
it.
hate that. We're getting signaled for time. But
See,
no, this is a good segue.
no,
because
see what Tonya do? I see it, but I so try to ignore it.
he's gonna keep going.
Yeah, I was trusting.
Right.
I was gonna keep going. I see it.
I keep seeing it. What I want to
Okay.
do, and this is a good
We will
opportunity to
wrap
segue
it up.
into
Okay.
Browniesha can tell everybody how to reach her, how to get her
Okay.
book,
Yeah,
so
that's
they
right.
can read the book and they can connect with you to hear not just your story, but the stories of everybody who's connected to the book. So by Clint sharing his, we
That's true.
segue into
So
that.
what we're gonna do is, and you are right, and you're right. See, that's why I gave my earpiece. I didn't bring it today because I already knew where it was gonna go. And normally he'd be like, wrap it up right now. So, but anyway, I want to have you look into this camera here, and whoever wants to go first, give them all your platforms on how they can get your book. Even if they want you to come out, and like you said, you were a youth pastor. Even if they, want to come out and have you, speak to a group of kids as well as you were a minister also. Have them speak to kids or whatever. However they can get in touch with you, let's give them that information. Now, I'm always asking people to give one. I know most people have many, but whichever one is the most one that you can get in contact with quickly, or you can respond to quickly. Because how people say, I got Twitter here, I got this, I got that. But whichever one you respond to the most is the one I would like for you to give. Okay. So it'll be this camera right here. Whoever want to go first, can go first.
Hello, everyone. As we are closing out, Clint did share a little bit about Dear Dad. And if you're interested in reading that anthology, which is a beautiful anthology and have blessed lives, you are more than welcome to purchase the book there, as well as get in contact with me at www.brownieshablackman.com. I will spell that for you. It's going to be my name is spelled BROWNIESHA, last name Blackman, BLACKMAN.com. That's the best way to reach me, and you'll find out all the information you'll need to know about me there.
Awesome. Okay, once again, my name is Clint Richardson, and I would like to just mention a little bit about the organization that I work for. It's called The Timeless Group, and that's spelled TIMELIST. And this organization, we're a nonprofit organization. We work with the homeless and recently incarcerated, and also mental health as well. And we just really believe in, it's never too late to change. So a lot of times what we like to do is those that may be coming, straight out of prison, out of jail, we like to give them jobs. We have a social enterprise where we call ourselves the ambassadors. We don't look at ourselves as security anymore because security carries a negative tone. So we try to look at ourselves as ambassadors, and where we mentor and try to advocate, for our communities. So if you ever, want to check us out, you can see us on our web. Our web page is the Timeless Group. So it's TIMELIST group.org, and you can check us out and you can see what we're all about.
All right. Well, everybody, you heard it here. Let's talk about it. Breaking the silence. We just broke the silence, man. I think we broke the sound barrier on this one today. Everybody got everything out, and it was just great. And once again, Tonya, I want to thank you, because it's like you took, let's talk about it. First, when I was doing let's talk about it, I was here. Then when Tonya brought it, was here. And every time she's like, because Raheem, I'm telling you now, you got some people. You better be ready. So I'm like, okay, when people say something.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, Tonya, and she did. So I bless you for it. And this breaking the silence segment is yours. You know that. Whenever you have something new coming out, my door is wide open for you.
Thank you.
And pretty soon I'm gonna tell her, I'm We'll get her own show on this network. I keep telling her that. So you watch and see what happens. But everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And remember, if you don't do anything, remember, Raheem told you from Let's Talk About It, don't ever share your 8x10 dream with somebody with a 5x7 mind. My name is Raheem Mitchell. I love you all. God bless. I'll see you next week. Peace.
Let's talk about it, talk about it. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That girl from LA and that guy. Let's talk about it, talk about it.